Hello and welcome to another episode of The Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. I am your host, Blaine Bartlett. I just got back from vacation, and this is an evergreen show, but I just want to mention this because it's relevant to what my guest is going to be bringing to the table today. And I say vacation. I was in London for about 10 days, and then my wife and I came home for 2 days, and then we jetted off to Hawaii and spent 12 days in Hawaii. Some beautiful properties, and the idea of holiday, the idea of vacation, the idea of matching, luxury and lifestyle. This is where I'm really kind of intrigued here. And my guest today, Chris Adams, is the founder and CEO of an organization called EAG, Ellis Adams Group, and they do bring luxury and lifestyle together. Chris's background, Ritz-Carlton hotel. He's in the hospitality industry. You founded EAG how many years ago?
EAG was launched back in 2014. I was part of another company prior to that, but we split the company and then officially launched EAG in January of 2014.
2014. Okay. So, my guest, obviously, Chris Adams, again, the founder and CEO of Ellis Adams Group, EAG, Ellis Adams Group. Chris, I start off everything with a question here that is organized around, the title of this show, The Soul of Business. When you hear the soul of business, and I'd like you to kind of answer this in the context of, luxury / lifestyle intersection, because this is as a business traveler, road warrior. I mean, I've got 5 million air miles. It's kind of like, I've been around the world a whole bunch of times here. When you hear the soul of business, what does that evoke for you specifically in terms of what you're doing with your organization right now?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because I think it lends itself to so many different answers based on where you are in your company. And I think for us, when you ask me that question, the word soul is what immediately jumps out at me. And the one thing that we are passionate about, and I just was speaking at a workshop yesterday, and there's two things that I'm extremely passionate about. Anybody that knows me, and that is the two L's for me. That's luxury and leadership. And I think when we talk about luxury and lifestyle and what our company does, the term luxury is thrown around a lot. And, I think most people think of luxury as something that has big dollar signs attached to it. And that's what they consider luxury. For us, and what we believe is that luxury is nothing more than a feeling, right? And I think that when you talk about how you make someone feel, that really determines your level of luxury. And lifestyle for us, and I think we have this written somewhere on our website, even says, it's not based on economics. Lifestyle is based on where you are. I've had a luxury experience in everything from a select service hotel that most people would never consider luxury. And I've had luxury obviously at Ritz-Carltons and Four Seasons and Mandarin Orientals. I think it's based on where you are and how that experience makes you feel. And so we want to meet our clients or those that we deal with wherever their lifestyle is. And that's kind of who we are as a brand.
See, now what I'm fascinated with that, and you've got 3 L's there, luxury, lifestyle, and leadership. My take on leadership is, and people that listen to this podcast have heard me say this, ad nauseum, but it's the activity of co-creating coordinated movement in a system that produces the results that I say I want. Now, when I put that in the framework of luxury and lifestyle, one of the things when I'm coaching clients that I'm working with, and I've worked a lot with CEOs and executives around the world, how do people feel about themselves when they're in your presence? And that's what I'm hearing you speak about, in terms of luxury. How do people feel about themselves when they're in the presence of your product or service? Do they feel luxurious? Whatever that evokes in people's mindset. How do you go about creating that experience in the clientele that you actually work with?
So I think it starts for us in understanding that my first client, when I'm at one of our hotels, right? If I'm at a Ritz-Carlton or one of St. Regis, when I'm at that hotel, the immediate client, the one that actually makes this happen for us, is our internal guest.
Yeah.
If I can't make them feel what luxury is, then how can I expect them to go make a guest feel that luxury space? So when we're opening a hotel and doing an opening, going through an opening process, it's a few week long process. And from day one, when they arrive at that opening, it is a curated, choreographed, amazing experience for them. On day one, they're arriving to something special that they walk away from day one going, I have no idea what I just signed up for. And I don't care what their position is in the hotel. They walk away feeling what luxury is. They walk away and having that feeling of, my God, I can't believe someone cares about me this much. Because once they understand what that feels like, it's a whole lot easier for them to deliver that experience to the guest when they walk in on day one. So I think for any organization, if you have a team of people that you're trying to convey something to, your client, guest, whatever your business is, they have to know what that feeling is first.
Yeah.
It can't just be put in paper. It can't be something that you just talk about theoretically. They have to understand it and feel it. And once they understand what that feeling is, it is a lot easier for them to go interpret that to the guest that they're dealing with.
I love that. Yeah. And the reason I love that is that it speaks to something that I am absolutely, rabid about, which is, engagement, emotional engagement. And, I've been in this game a long time, and most organizations that I've interacted with, either as a consultant or actually been a part of as an employee years ago, I've found that, most organizations are toxic to the human spirit. Because they're, most business leaders, I say not many business leaders approach their employee group as interchangeable cogs in a production wheel. And people, the idea of, our people are our greatest asset. Assets are depreciated for balance sheet purposes for tax reasons. Our people are our greatest resource. Resources are meant to be used. And make no mistake, people, and you're my greatest resource. Well, you're going to use me, or you're going to depreciate me, one way or the other here. So bringing that sensibility into that process, where people are seen as a true asset, not to be depreciated, but actually to be leveraged and curated. Yeah. I'd like to know just kind of what's the developmental path that you set up for your people so that they have an opportunity to access their genius and grow.
So there's a few things that, and I think this speaks probably to a much bigger conversation of where we're at with labor issues across the board and whatnot. But I think there's a huge discrepancy between the creation of culture at an organization and the cultivation of culture. I think organizations do a great. I mean, I can list for hours companies that have amazing culture on paper, something that they have created in a boardroom, and this is what we sell the dream to get people to come on board. That's the easy part. The cultivation of that after you've hired them on and they drink the Kool-Aid, are they still drinking it 8 months later, a year later, 2 years later? And I think that's where we have failed of cultivating the culture. Do we truly believe it and live it? And if we're talking about my organization specifically, when we bring people on to our team, we don't bring people on because we just have a need and we have to find somebody to fill a void. I need the right fit for who we are as a company, but not just that. I need to know that I'm a right fit for them. The biggest thing that people miss in this is when I'm going through an interview process, I want to know about you. I want to learn about you. You have dreams and aspirations just like I do, right? What makes my dreams and aspirations more important than yours? So I need to know what those are. So I believe it is my job as a leader of my organization to wake up every day and clear the path to allow my team to be great. It is my job to find in them what they didn't even realize they were amazing at and to expose it. It is my job to put them in situations they never thought they were capable of. That's my role as the CEO of my company. If I don't know what your dreams and aspirations are, how am I helping you achieve them? All you're doing is achieving mine. That's not a win for either of us, because ultimately you were going to fall out of culture with my company, which means I have to then work on a way to get you out, to replace you with somebody else that'll drink the Kool-Aid for long enough to get me to my next goal. That's not helping either of us in the big scheme of me growing my organization and helping you get to where you want to be. So I've taken a totally different approach than probably most people would. And hey, look, to each their own. What works for you. I'm not telling you that mine is the end all be all. You need to figure out what works for you. But for me, and what I'm passionate about, and what I believe gets the most out of those individuals that work alongside EAG, that's what makes me tick, is seeing them glow, to be honest with you, when we're on calls, because they're doing something they never thought they were going to do. When they're able to be in a situation around people they never thought they'd be around, when they're asked to do things that they didn't think they were capable of and they succeed at it. Those are the things that make me happy, which makes them happy. And, as a result, our company continues to flourish because of it. And I believe at our core, that's why.
I love this. The idea of flourishing, the idea of I can't grow as an organization unless you're growing as a part of my organization. That interconnectedness, everything is connected in some way, shape, or form. You talk about flourishing, and we're coming off the backside of probably one of the most disruptive economic events in most of our lifetimes. The Great Depression notwithstanding, but most of us weren't around for that at this point in our lives.
Yeah.
How has EAG actually weathered, not just survived, but weathered the pandemic in a way that has actually set you up to flourish?
I could not be more grateful and fortunate for the situation we're in. We went through that, and most of our clients and who we dealt with, they went through furloughs and cuts, and we did the exact opposite. We grew, we gave bonuses, we gave raises, we added people to our team, and expanded. And, obviously people want to know, okay, how, like, what did you do? And look, let's be clear. I didn't have some magic 8-ball. I'm not some, guru attached to the market that just knew exactly what was going to happen. But what we did do was this: when everything hit the fan, I just got back to my place, and I was sitting there with my significant other. And, at that point, all you heard when you turned on, I don't care if it was the radio, the television, social media, was essentially the world's coming to an end. Yeah. How are you going to go? I mean, that's pretty much I don't care what you turned on. There was only two things that I saw: doom and gloom, or people dancing on TikTok. And just acting like nothing was happening whatsoever, and they were on a vacation, right? There was literally the one side or the other of the spectrum of what we were experiencing that moment. And I said, I had people that I was obviously talking to, and they were, man, this is great. I'm in my pajamas every day. I don't have to deal with the office or whatnot. And I said, you know what? I looked at her and I said, we're going to do something different. I said, I've got to do something. I can't just sit here. One, I went into research mode because I'm a data junkie. And I know for a fact that during the last crash of what took place, and we were talking that 2007, 08 crash.
08, yeah.
Basically, some of the greatest companies that we now get to experience were established during the crash, right? People that went on a limb, took a chance. They saw opportunity when other people saw loss, right? So I said, okay, well, that's something to take note of. This is potentially an opportunity in the same scenario to come out of this way bigger on the other side than where we started. But you still have to have some form of a roadmap or a critical path to get you to that place. And the only thing I knew to do at that moment, Blaine, was I said, I'm going to wake up every day. I'm going to get dressed to the nines, like I'm going to the office, and I'm going to go sit in front of my desk. I'm going to turn a camera on, and I'm going to give people 2 minutes of hope. That's it. I said, if there's anything else I know how to do, it's that I can tell you in the moment of whatever you're feeling with the angst, anxiety, is I can give you 2 minutes of hope. I can tell you what to do today to help you get to tomorrow. I can tell you how to take away the depression of today and look for excitement of tomorrow in some way, shape, or form. And if nothing else comes of it, I'm giving myself therapy. If no one else watches this, I was at least speaking life and hope into myself.
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of doing that, I did that for almost 45 days straight. I got up every single day and posted a 1 to 3 minute video of, and man, this was everything from helping you figure out how to get more organized in your life. This was how to achieve your goals. It was every topic you could think of, but every single topic was some form of positivity to help you see hope versus what was being put across the newscast. And the number of people that reached out to me that said, "You got me through today. I found a purpose in the midst of this. I figured out in the midst of this what I'm actually supposed to be doing in life." It was mind blowing to me how many people responded to just that 2 to 3 minutes of me just trying to put something out there of positivity. That was the catalyst for everything that was going to come and happen for us over the next 18 months. From that, we launched another division of our company that has absolutely blown up. We've added people to that division of the company. It's exceeded well over the $1 million mark in the first 18 months of that. Like, it's been one thing after another. And again, I'm no better than anybody else, other than I took a risk that no one else was willing to take at that time because everybody was cutting. How do we hold on to what we have? And I said, you know what? Let's spend everything we got to try and make something out of this. And I am a firm believer in, I am going to put out what I want to receive back. I put out hope.
Magic.
I put out positivity. I put out, we are going to beat this. We're going to come out stronger on the other side. And by God, we have. And I don't know that that's the best formula, but it worked for us. And I know a lot of people that responded to it and were hopeful within their circumstances because of it. And that's what we did.
Yeah, I love this. We're going to take a real quick break here. And I'm going to come back to this because what you're talking about is something that I came across the other day, a little quote: "Action is the antidote to despair." And I want to leverage that just a moment here because I want to really drill in on this because the audience that's listening to this, I think that this is absolute gold. So we're going to take a real quick break, folks. And when we come back, we will rejoin this conversation with Chris Adams. And we'll see you in just a few, actually about a minute and a half. Okay? I want to thank you for listening. I want to also invite you right now to go to blainebartlett.com. And on that site, which is my personal website, you'll see services up on the top menu. I'd like you to click on Leadership Mastermind. Now, why I want you to do that is we have structured a mastermind program that is very unusual and it is very powerful. And by going onto that site and clicking that link, you'll be taken to a landing page that is an invitation to join this mastermind. It's a 52-week long exploration of what it takes to be a highly effective leader in today's fast-changing environment. You won't regret it. And if you've been liking what you've been listening to on these Soul of Business podcasts, how does one become a leader that can keep connection to the soul of business? That's what we look at. That's what we're about in this mastermind program. So again, go to blainebartlett.com and click on the services link. And there you'll find the link to the Leadership Mastermind program. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for listening to this little commercial. And now back to our show. Welcome back. You are listening to the Soul of Business with Blaine Bartlett. I am, like I said earlier, your host, Blaine Bartlett. Listening to and speaking with Chris Adams, the founder and CEO of a fascinating company that I'm absolutely enthralled with here, Ellis Adams Group, hospitality group. Before we took the break, Chris was talking about what I consider to be probably one of the best ways that I've heard recently about how we can actually move beyond the unexpected perturbation of calamity that occurs here. And one of the things that I was intrigued with was the idea, and I'm not sure that it was hyperbole. I think that you actually meant this when you said this, is rather than consolidating our funds and waiting this out, let's just spend what we got and make something happen. Yeah. So
it was not. We spent it.
You did, yeah.
There was a moment.
Not hyperbole.
Yeah.
Doing the unexpected, doing the uncommon, taking action. And I loved specifically, and one of the reasons I love this is because it's similar to what I did. Just saying, I don't know what to do, but I'm just going to sit in front of a microphone for 2 hours, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it is, and just bring some hope to what others might be able to leverage so that life can go on. We did something, a friend of mine, when this occurred, it was a Black Swan event. So I did a series of seminars, little webinars, and they were maybe 20 minutes. I think they were only about 20 minutes long, called the Black Swan event. And just kind of, what does this mean? What do we do with this? How do we play with this? What are some things that you've never thought of doing that you could do in the face of what you think is calamity? And it was fascinating, the response that we got off of that, because it was unexpected. I mean, it was just kind of, I'd never been had done any, I literally had never done any live streaming. That wasn't part of my business model at all. How did the organization respond to that? I mean, I've got a sense that I know that, already, but I want to ask, what may seem like a rhetorical question. How did the organization respond to that? Emotionally, viscerally, physically, in terms of action?
I mean, it reassured me that I was doing the right thing. When I watched, crazy enough, this whole Microsoft Teams and Zoom and all this that came out of the pandemic, we had started this long before the pandemic ever started. We had a rule at our company that every meeting, we have multiple days a week where we have kind of catch-up meetings as a team, kind of talk about high-level stuff, what's going on, things that we need to take note of. Every single one of those meetings, long before the pandemic, were always video meetings. That was something I believed in long before the pandemic. I need to see you. I want to be able to look in your eyes. Our team is traveling the world most of the time, so we're not sitting in necessarily a boardroom most of the time. And the idea that we're doing conference calls and I don't get to see my team and they can't see how invested I am in them and staring in their eyes virtually. Yeah. We started that long before the pandemic. So it wasn't something new, I guess you can say, when this kind of took off for everyone else. To see my team, when they saw me every day getting on these calls, because when this happened, we went from having calls twice a week on Mondays and Fridays to having a daily call. I had a call every single day with my team. I wanted a check-in with them. I wanted to know where they were emotionally. I wanted to know how their families were. I wanted to know how their cousins were that contracted the virus. I wanted to make sure that they knew that I was front and center in their lives personally and professionally at this point, that we weren't ducking this situation. We weren't going to go silent. They weren't going to be worried. Oh my God, am I getting a paycheck this week? Is Chris going to furlough people? I wanted to be front and center with them every single day. And in doing that, they saw me getting on this screen every day. I mean, there were days that I was in a 3-piece suit and sitting at my desk, and thankfully our offices are literally a block away from where I live. So it made it convenient for me going back and forth, but my team knew that I was present. And part of that came from, I was having calls weekly with some of my mentors and really board members of what's going on. I think as we look at globally, but also what are we doing for each other? How are we making sure that the same way I want to be there for my team, I've got people that I need that are there for me, right? Everybody's got someone that they're accountable to. And one of my mentors, we were talking one day, and he was talking about a former president that was going through crisis in the nation. At that time, he made a point every day to basically be on a platform to ensure that the nation saw him every single day, that he was front and center to confront what was going on and to give hope and comfort in the midst of crisis. And by God, I in no way, shape, or form am I leading a nation, but I used that as basically a model for our company to say, I wanted to ensure that they were getting that hope, that message from me, to ensure that they can give that to their families, the people they're doing it, and also our clients. We had our clients calling us every day looking for answers. What do we do? Help us. We need to cut, but we've got to stay open. We got to save money. How do we drive revenue? I needed my team to be on their A game. The only way that was going to happen is if they didn't feel the pressures of what the world was putting on them. So I had to put myself in a position, uncomfortable or not, to ensure that they didn't feel what everyone else was feeling, in the hopes that they were going to convey and push that out to someone else, right? We always say it's impossible for my team to go fill others up with hope if I'm not filling them up with hope, right? You can't pour out of an empty cup. And so I needed to make sure that I was every day doing that for them, so they can go push that message out to those that they were coming in contact with. And it's a ripple effect. You've got one client that's like, oh my God, you're getting me through chaos and you're giving me ideas of things that are working. And next thing you know, the next client calls that we didn't have before, like, hey, I just heard from Bill down the street that you guys are helping him do this. Help me. And it was, one thing after another that really, we watch growth happen through that.
I'm looking at our time here. I could keep this conversation going for a long time. Chris, I love this. Yeah, the idea that getting in front of the camera. I mean, I'm just I was looking at the website here, your website. Your core values: innovation, individuality, and evolution. And the way that you define evolution, through courage, we progressively grow and create relevancy. And in that time, and I mean, and it's certainly carrying forward here, more and more relevance. How are you, my people, relevant to who we are? How am I relevant to you? I mean, those sorts of questions. And I'm making this up in my mind here, but I got a hunch that that's actually kind of, whether you articulated it that way or not, is how you approach this. And there's a model that I've used sometimes where it's kind of, think of a three-legged stool. Familiarity breeds an experience of safety. Safety allows for behavioral freedom, flexibility.
Sure.
So what I'm hearing you say is, by getting in front of this camera on a daily basis rather than Monday and Friday, you began to create a sense of familiarity with the situation. And it's not about having the answers. It's about just kind of showing up. That begat a sense of safety. People could breathe a little bit. And now you've got behavioral flexibility, so innovation can crop up in a way that is unexpected sometimes.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I wanted familiarity, but I didn't want it to be, let's do a happy hour every day.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Like that's a great way to create comfort.
Yep.
And I knew exactly where you're going with that, because you were dead on. That's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to make sure. And I just felt, I saw so many people that were they went into depression, and they were living in fear, understandably. Okay. I'm not minimizing that in any way, shape, or form. It was a catastrophe what took place. I wanted to make sure my team knew that I was there for them.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure they knew that we weren't going anywhere, that everything, as well as it could be, was going to be all right. And I kept telling myself, I use a quote all the time that says, change is inevitable, but growth is optional. Yeah. Change is going to happen whether we like it or not. And unfortunately, this pandemic that happened forced change, right? It forced change upon us in so many different ways. That happened whether we like it or not. We can fight it all we want. That took place. Now, whether or not we're going to grow from it, that's a choice. And I wanted to make sure my team understood that horrible things are happening. You might have personal family members that are dealing with horrible things right now. Let's control the things we can and make sure that we come out of this better on the other side. And in that process, we're here for you. And we're going to find a way to work through this together. And, we're grateful so far the way things have gone.
That is beautiful. Folks, we've been listening to Chris Adams, the founder and CEO of the Ellis Adams Group. Where can people find out more about, the firm, about what you're up to? How can they take advantage of your hospitality?
Well, obviously there's the website that you can go to, and you can go to www.ellisadamsinc.com, ellisadamsinc.com, or actually even ellisadamsgroup.com. Both will take you to the same site. You could follow us along on our journey through Instagram. That's always a fun way to kind of see what we're doing. And that you can follow me at Chris Adams _EAG, or at Ellis Adams Official. Either one of those, we'd love to let you join the family, and we'd love to reach out and assist in any way we can.
Great. I'll make sure that all of that's in the show notes so people have immediate access to it. Chris, I want to thank you. This has been a fascinating conversation, and I'm not kidding. I can continue to riff on this for a long time.
We'll do round two.
I would love to do that. As a matter of fact, I do a couple of other shows with a good friend of mine that we're on Apple TV, on Bloomberg TV. I'd love to be able to have you on either one of those shows and literally highlight what you're up to with EAG.
I appreciate it and consider it done.
Okay, you got it. Folks, again, thank you for listening. Blaine Bartlett, and you're listening to The Solar Business with Blaine Bartlett. Check out my website, blainebartlett.com. We've got some very interesting things going on there. Not the least of which is a leadership mastermind program that I'd like to have you check out. And you'll find the information on that. I'm not going to belabor it here at this point in time. I just again want to thank Chris Adams for being just an extraordinary guest. And until next time, take care and make a difference in your life. Be a center of distribution, not a center of accumulation. Take care.